In a small, dimly lit laboratory, a tiny machine hummed quietly, its lights flickering in a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. Scientists moved around the room, focused on their screens, unaware of the subtle signal that was quietly appearing on the monitors. It was faint, almost invisible, a whisper in a storm of data, and yet it was unlike anything they had ever seen. Dr. Elena Carter, a young physicist with a sharp mind and an insatiable curiosity, noticed it first. Her eyes widened as she leaned closer, her finger tracing the line that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. She felt a shiver run down her spine, as if the universe itself had just tapped her on the shoulder. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice almost lost in the hum of machines. The signal was strange, irregular, and seemingly meaningless at first glance, but something about it felt intentional, almost like a message. Elena tried to ignore it at first, telling herself it was probably just random noise, a glitch, something scientists see all the time. Yet the signal persisted, flickering in patterns that were too deliberate to dismiss. Around her, other scientists glanced at the monitors and shrugged, going back to their calculations and reports. "It's nothing," one said, not bothering to look closely. But Elena knew better. She had learned early in her career that the universe often hides its most important truths in the smallest details, and she could feel that this was one of those moments. She leaned back and tried to make sense of it, thinking about all the experiments she had studied, all the theories she had read. Nothing seemed to explain the strange rhythm of the signal. It was as if reality itself was pausing, holding its breath, waiting for someone to notice. As she stared, the room seemed to fade away, and for a moment, she felt connected to something much larger than herself, something that existed beyond the walls of the laboratory, beyond the screens, beyond the world she thought she understood. She felt the thrill of discovery, the excitement of standing on the edge of something extraordinary. Elena's mind raced with possibilities. Some seemed impossible, even absurd. Could this tiny signal hold the key to a deeper understanding of reality? Could it reveal secrets about the universe that no one had ever imagined? She felt a mixture of fear and excitement, knowing that the answer, if found, could change everything. Time seemed to slow as she watched the signal. Her heart beat faster, each pulse of light on the monitor echoing in her chest. She realized that most people would look at it and move on, too busy, too distracted, too afraid to question what they saw. But she could not. She had to follow it, wherever it might lead. And then, as if on cue, the signal pulsed brighter, almost like it was aware that she was watching, like a secret finally revealing itself to someone ready to listen. Elena felt a chill run through her body. She knew she had stumbled upon something that was bigger than any experiment, bigger than any theory, something that might change the way humans understood themselves and the universe. She sat back, trying to calm her racing thoughts, but her mind was alive with questions. What is it trying to tell me? Why now? Why me? She wondered. The mysterious signal had appeared quietly, unnoticed by most, but for Elena, it was a call, an invitation to explore, to question, to uncover truths hidden in the fabric of reality itself. And with that, she realized one thing. If she ignored it, she might miss the discovery that could change everything. Elena sat in front of her monitor, the mysterious signal still pulsing softly. She leaned back, taking a deep breath, knowing that to understand it, she had to step into the world of quantum science, a world that was strange, confusing, and sometimes almost magical. At first glance, the signal seemed simple, just a tiny fluctuation on the screen, yet behind it was a universe of invisible forces, particles dancing in ways that defied common sense. The scientists in the lab often joked that quantum physics was like trying to catch shadows in your hands, but Elena knew there was a method hidden in the chaos. She thought of entanglement, a phenomenon where particles, even separated by millions of miles, could affect each other instantly. It was as if the universe had secret threads connecting everything, threads invisible to the eye, but very real in their effects. Could this signal be connected to such threads? Could it be a small hint that the universe was speaking in a language humans were only beginning to hear? Then there was the observer effect, one of the strangest ideas in science. It suggested that the very act of observing something could change it, that reality might not exist in a fixed state until someone looked closely. Elena felt a thrill as she thought of the signal through this lens. Perhaps it was more than random noise. Perhaps it was waiting for someone to pay attention, waiting for consciousness itself to interact with it. She pulled up graphs and calculations, trying to find patterns in the chaos. The numbers seemed meaningless at first, but slowly, a rhythm emerged, a subtle pulse that repeated in ways that no one had noticed before. It was as if the signal was alive, or at least aware of being watched. Elena explained it to herself in simple terms, as if teaching a child. This is a small message from the universe, hidden in layers of complexity. If we ignore it, we lose the chance to understand something extraordinary. She whispered, feeling the weight of her words. Around her, the lab continued its normal rhythm, machines humming, colleagues typing. Unaware of the significance of what she had found, most people would dismiss the signal. Elena knew that. But she also knew that history was made by those who noticed what others overlooked, by those who were willing to follow curiosity to the edge of understanding. She imagined the signal as a tiny spark in the dark, almost invisible, yet powerful enough to illuminate a whole new way of seeing the world. If she could decipher it, even a little, she might uncover something that linked the strange, invisible world of quantum physics to the world humans experienced every day. And that was the most exciting thought of all. The signal was not just numbers on a screen. It was a doorway, a bridge between what people could see and what they could only imagine. It hinted at possibilities beyond ordinary understanding, at truths that could stretch the mind and challenge everything humanity believed about reality. Elena leaned closer again, her eyes fixed on the monitor, feeling a mixture of fear and wonder. She understood that the universe often spoke in whispers, in subtle signs that could be missed if you weren't paying attention. And now, she was listening, ready to follow the signal wherever it might lead. She knew one thing for certain. The science behind the signal was only the beginning, the surface of a mystery that touched something deeper, something that connected mind, reality, and the hidden forces of the universe, and she was ready to uncover it. Elena stared at the pulsing signal, her mind racing. She felt that the science she had just explored was only the surface of something far deeper, something that could change the way humans understood reality itself. She thought about the ordinary world, the one most people took for granted, where things seemed solid, predictable, and fixed. Yet the signal whispered that reality might not be as simple as it appeared, that beneath the surface, the universe was alive with possibilities, shaped by forces humans could barely imagine. Her thoughts drifted to the observer effect again, the strange idea that just looking at something could change it. Could reality itself depend on observation? Could the world exist differently depending on who was watching, who was thinking, who was aware? The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Elena imagined reality as a painting, constantly being painted and repainted by every conscious mind, every thought, every observation, every choice adding a brushstroke. Some strokes were small and subtle, almost invisible, yet together they created the image of the universe. The mysterious signal felt like a single, tiny brushstroke that might reveal the hidden patterns of the whole painting. She asked herself the questions she knew would haunt her forever. Are we passive observers or active participants? Do we simply watch the universe, or do we help shape it? Could this small signal be a message that consciousness itself matters, that it has the power to influence reality in ways we cannot yet measure? The room around her seemed to fade as she considered the possibilities. She felt both awe and humility, realizing that the universe might be far stranger than anyone had ever imagined, that the boundaries between mind and matter, observer and observed, were thinner and more flexible than she had been taught. Elena pictured the world of everyday life, and it looked different now. It was no longer just streets, trees, and buildings, but a complex web of connections, interactions, and hidden potentials. Each moment of awareness, each choice, could ripple outward, changing outcomes in ways most people would never notice. The signal pulsed again, almost as if it were confirming her thoughts. She felt a sense of wonder, a feeling that the universe was speaking directly to her, whispering secrets about the fabric of reality, secrets that humans had ignored for centuries, too busy, too distracted, too afraid to see them. And yet, she realized, understanding this was not just about science. It was about perspective, about seeing the world as it truly was, not just as it appeared. The signal was an invitation to question everything, to look beyond assumptions, to explore the thin line between possibility and certainty. Elena felt a shiver run down her spine as she considered the implications. If reality could shift depending on observation, if consciousness could play a role in shaping outcomes, then every thought, every moment, every decision mattered more than she had ever imagined. The mysterious signal had begun as a small, almost invisible blip on a screen, but now it was a window into the nature of existence itself, a key to understanding the strange, delicate, and powerful connection between mind and reality. And Elena knew, with a certainty that made her heart race, that ignoring this signal would mean missing a chance to glimpse the universe as it really was, a chance to see the hidden truths that lay beneath the surface of the everyday, a chance to understand that reality was far more extraordinary than anyone had dared to imagine. Elena sat quietly, her eyes fixed on the monitor. The mysterious signal continued to pulse, and now it felt less like a random blip and more like a bridge, a connection between the strange world of quantum science and the mind itself. She thought about consciousness, that invisible force that allowed humans to think, feel, and perceive. Most people took it for granted, but Elena had always wondered if it was something more, something that might reach beyond the brain and touch the very fabric of reality. Could this signal be proof that consciousness mattered in ways science had barely begun to explore? She remembered reading about experiments where particles behaved differently simply because someone was observing them, as if awareness itself could influence the smallest elements of the universe. She felt a thrill run through her body, realizing that the signal might be another hint of the same truth, a whisper from reality that mind and matter were deeply connected. Elena imagined consciousness like a lighthouse in a dark ocean, its light reaching out, touching waves and currents that would otherwise remain hidden. The signal was a tiny reflection of that light, subtle but undeniable, hinting that every observation, every moment of awareness, had an impact on the world. She wondered about free will, about choice, and the role it might play in shaping outcomes. Could humans, simply by being aware, change the flow of reality in ways that were invisible but real? Could the signal be an invitation to explore that possibility, a secret waiting for those curious enough to pay attention? Elena felt a mix of awe and fear. The idea that consciousness could influence reality was beautiful, but it was also unsettling. It meant that ignorance or inattention could leave entire truths undiscovered. It meant that the universe might only reveal its deepest secrets to those who were awake enough to notice. She leaned closer to the monitor, her eyes tracing the subtle rhythm of the signal. Each pulse seemed to echo in her mind, as if communicating directly with her awareness. She felt connected not just to the signal, but to the universe itself, a tiny part of a vast web of consciousness and reality. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that this connection could explain mysteries that had puzzled scientists and philosophers for centuries. Why did observation matter? Why did perception seem to influence outcomes? Perhaps consciousness was not just a passive observer of reality, but an active participant in creating it. Elena smiled, feeling both humble and exhilarated. The signal was not just a scientific anomaly. It was a message, a proof that the mind mattered, that human awareness was not separate from the universe, but woven into it, a force capable of revealing hidden patterns, unlocking secrets, and shaping the flow of events. She sat back for a moment, letting the thoughts settle. The mysterious signal had started as a tiny curiosity, something easy to ignore, yet now it had opened a window into one of the deepest questions of existence. What is consciousness? And how does it touch reality itself? Elena knew that the path ahead would be challenging, filled with questions that had no easy answers. But she also knew that the reward was immense, the chance to see the universe not as a fixed, lifeless machine, but as a living, breathing tapestry, where mind and matter, observer and observed, were inseparably connected. And with that realization, she felt a new sense of purpose, ready to explore the signal further, ready to uncover the profound connection between consciousness and the hidden patterns of reality itself. Elena leaned back in her chair, her eyes never leaving the pulsing signal. A sense of urgency had begun to grow inside her. She realized that this small, almost invisible signal was not just mysterious, it was important. critically important. She thought about the countless discoveries in history that had been missed, ignored, or dismissed, the telescope that could have revealed new planets, the letters that could have unlocked new theories, the quiet observations that were lost because no one paid attention. Elena felt a chill run down her spine, knowing that ignoring even a small hint could mean missing something extraordinary. The signal on her monitor was tiny, subtle, and easy to overlook. Most people would dismiss it without a second thought. Yet Elena understood that the universe often hid its greatest truths in places that seemed unimportant, waiting for someone curious enough to notice, someone brave enough to follow the thread. She imagined a life where she ignored the signal, where she followed the routine, the familiar, the safe path. It would have been easy, comfortable, unremarkable, but she felt a wave of fear as she realized what would have been lost, the chance to understand the hidden patterns of reality, the connection between consciousness and the universe, might have slipped away forever. Elena thought about the consequences, not just for herself, but for everyone. If humanity ignored the subtle signals of reality, the whispers of the universe, we might remain blind to the forces shaping our world. Missing them could mean misunderstanding the nature of consciousness, free will, and even existence itself. She pictured the signal like a small door in a long, dark corridor, almost invisible, almost forgotten. Ignoring it would be like walking past a gateway to a universe full of wonder, insight, and revelation. And she knew that this was exactly what most people would do, moving forward without noticing the doorway at all. Her heart raced as she realized the danger was not just scientific. It was philosophical. It was personal. It meant that life itself might offer clues and guidance in the form of subtle signals, opportunities to understand reality more deeply, and ignoring them could leave a person blind to truths that mattered most. The signal pulsed again, brighter this time, almost urgent, almost impatient. It seemed to say, "Notice me, follow me, don't ignore what you see." Elena felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She was no longer just observing an anomaly. She was standing at a crossroads, deciding whether to take the leap into deeper understanding or to turn away. She thought about the many who had ignored warnings, signs, and opportunities in history, and how the world had suffered because of it. Yet she also felt hope, knowing that those who were willing to pay attention, who were willing to notice the small, hidden signals, could discover truths that would transform their understanding of life, the mind, and reality itself. Elena took a deep breath, feeling both fear and excitement. She knew the danger of ignoring the signal was real, yet she also understood that the reward for following it could be immense, a chance to glimpse the hidden workings of the universe, a chance to see consciousness not as a mystery, but as a key to understanding the world. And with that realization, she made a choice. She would not ignore it. She would follow the signal, no matter where it led, knowing that the greatest discoveries always begin with attention, curiosity, and the courage to notice what others dismiss.